Hey y'all, it is me. I'm back again with another video, and today we are talking about labor and delivery, specifically during the pandemic. So I did put something out on Instagram to get some questions for those of you all who are interested in information about labor and delivery and the COVID pandemic and delivering in the hospital and all that kind of stuff. And so I have about 10 or so questions that I'm going to go over and just give some answers to it. So let's start off. How was labor and delivery? So for me, labor and delivery was good. We checked into the hospital around 9 in the morning. I went to maternal assessment immediately. That's the first place that they sent me. And from there, they just monitored baby's heartbeat, mine. They checked my contractions. They hook you up to a machine and it shows them how your contractions are flowing. And then they also monitored, obviously my dilation, how much I had dilated. And that was the process. Once I was there, I think I was there till almost noon, 12:30-ish maybe, beyond noon actually. Then they moved me to an actual labor and delivery room because I had continuously, I was continuing to dilate. So they said, okay, it's time for you to go ahead and have the baby. We're going to admit you into the hospital and you're not leaving until you have your child. So labor and delivery was a good process. I have a video posted, so if you're interested in looking at the full process of labor and delivery, the whole vlog is posted prior to this video. Number 2, did I get an epidural? Yes. A lot of people ask, did you have him naturally? I did not have him naturally because naturally, in my opinion, is without medication. So technically, the term that people in the hospital will use is that I had him vaginally with an epidural. So that's how to answer that. So number 3, how long was labor? Technically, they don't consider the time that I was in maternal assessment labor. They consider the moment that you are checked into labor and delivery, which was, like I said, around 1 o'clock maybe. And so I was in that specific room from 1 o'clock in the afternoon to roughly, I'm gonna say probably midnight the next night. The next day, like 12 o'clock a.m. That Saturday, because then we were moved to our actual room that we stayed in for the remainder of the time we were there. So labor itself was from 1 in the afternoon until about, obviously till 9, I guess, 9 p.m. when I actually had him. Number 4, did I have any complications? No, I didn't have any complications with anything. During my pregnancy, I had low iron, but there was nothing else that was really concerning. I had a heart rate that was racing, but once the iron was taken care of, the heart rate kind of got fixed as well. So to me, that wasn't really a complication as much as it was just kind of like a hurdle that we had to get over. But it wasn't harming to my child. It was really more kind of frustrating for me. Once I actually got into the hospital though, complications, I didn't have anything crazy that happened besides an epidural gave me the shakes, which I've heard happens to a lot of people. So I don't think that's anything like crazy or weird. His birth weight and length, he was 6 pounds and 2 ounces, was 19 and a half inches long. And he's grown significantly since then, and it's only been 4 weeks. So my experience during the pandemic specifically, to me, I don't really know anything different. I've never had another child before this, so I've never been in the hospital with somebody who did have a child, so I have no clue what's different for pandemic or not. But I do know I wasn't able to have any other people with me there besides my husband. We checked in. We had to have on masks. They check your temperature. Everything was very touch-free, hands-free. You check in. We had to have on masks. Once I got into maternal assessment, they did the COVID test on me, which did require them to stick the thing up your nose. But it was bad, but it was just more annoying than painful. And it made my eyes like water like crazy, which I wasn't crying, but it just made them water. Like it was just uncomfortable. Once I got the test, I was negative. That was it. I didn't have to have on a mask anymore, but every single person that we came in contact with, everybody had on masks. The cleaning people in the hospital, the nurses, the doctor, anesthesiologist, everybody. Nobody took off their masks. No doctors shook hands with you. No nurses came in and shook hands. There was very, very little touching that happened. They would handle your child if needed, but they did have on gloves, and they would change their gloves out every time they walked in the room and left. How long was our hospital stay? We went in on Friday, and we were released on Sunday, and so that was only 2 days. We had them on Friday. Well, we got in on Friday morning. We stayed through the night Friday night, moved into our new room Friday early Saturday morning, stayed in that room the entire day Saturday, and then Sunday we woke up, had our last few little things that we needed to handle, and then they let us go. So pretty short in my opinion. My pre-pregnancy weight, I weighed 139 pounds before I got pregnant, and the highest that I remember being was 163 pounds. Either way it goes, I know I gained like 23 pounds was the last weigh-in that I had at my last doctor's appointment before I actually went in to give birth. And funny story, not even a funny story, but a funny, interesting fact. The day that we had him was the day of my next appointment. And I was supposed to be at my appointment. And it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was like, my appointment's at 2. I was trying to call my doctor. And I think the nurse line that I called before I actually went to the hospital let her know that I was in labor. So my clothes, how do my clothes fit now? Pretty much everything is starting to fit more now. Obviously, my stomach is still a little, bloated, swollen, fat. I mean, I don't know what to call it, but I still do have some pre-pregnancy skin. I mean, not pre-pregnancy, postpartum skin. I did not get a lot of stretch marks or anything like that, which I'm very grateful for. But I moisturized my stomach like crazy. I did a mixture of cocoa butter and almond oil. And just did that every day. My stomach started itching at a certain point, and then there was a portion of my stomach that was numb. That part is, honestly, the surface of my skin is still a little numb in that same exact spot, which I kind of figured it would be. But my clothes, for the most part, fit like normal. I have on, obviously, non-maternity clothes right now, and so this is what we're looking like in terms of, my midsection. So, I mean, for the most part, my clothes fit now. I'm still about 5 or 6 pounds from my pre-pregnancy weight. But that is what it is. Somebody said, is a doctor or a nurse more important? I know when I was first looking for my doctor, trying to figure out which one was more important. Is it the doctor that, is going to deliver more important, or is it really more serious for you to be concerned about your nurses? And the bottom line is, I did not even deliver with my doctor. Some people go to their very last day and their doctor has to induce them and they plan it and stuff like that. Some people have C-sections where they plan it as well. However, mine was not that situation. Like, we were waiting and I woke up at 38 weeks and bam, it was time for me to go to the hospital. So the person that was on call was a person that delivered my baby, and it was not my doctor. As much as I love my doctor, it was not her. So the hospital that you give birth in is extremely important. And then obviously you can't pick your nurses because it's just like a shift thing. But the nurses were absolutely way more important than the doctor, because we had, if you look at my labor and delivery vlog, I had a nurse that helped me through the beginning part of labor who was amazing. She basically was like, the doctor wants to give you an epidural right now. Like, as soon as I got into labor and delivery, she was like, I would recommend you wait as long as you can until it's no longer bearable and then get the epidural. And I was like, well, why do you suggest that? And she said, this hospital has a high rate of C-sections. And if you get the epidural too soon, it could potentially put you in a position later on where you would need an epidural. And she was right. I mean, where you would need a C-section. And she was right. Because as I continued to push, I pushed for like 2.5, almost 3 hours. Towards the end of that, every push that I did, my baby's heart rate was beginning to drop a little bit. And then when I stopped pushing, it came back up. And so if we had the epidural earlier, then that means that it potentially his heart rate could have done that earlier, which would have meant that I could not have pushed for 2.5 to 3 hours. It would have been more like 1.5 hours to 2 hours. And then it would have been like, okay, now his heart rate is dangerously low. Now you need a C-section. So The nurse was extremely important, but also the hospital that you delivered at. I delivered at the Women's Hospital of Texas in the medical center in Houston. Absolutely 100% would recommend. The food was not bad, because obviously when you're pregnant, you go in hungry and you can't eat till you have the baby. The food was really good. It did not take a long time, probably also because the hospital was like, locked down, quarantine, whatever. But it was a good experience. Doctor is not as important to me when it comes down to having the baby as the hospital and the nurses. Packing a hospital bag. I was a little OCD about this and then still screwed up everything. Like, I brought the wrong size clothes. My baby was super tiny, which in my defense, we didn't get our final ultrasounds. The doctor really couldn't give me much information about how big she thought the baby was. She just said he's not a huge baby, which is like, okay, what does that mean? 7 pounds is not huge. 6 pounds is not huge. What does that mean? So when it came to time to pack the hospital bag, I just picked as many things as I could for both myself and my husband. We had obviously the undergarments that we needed, clothes to leave the hospital, clothes for our baby to leave the hospital. If I need to do a hospital bag packing video, I will, but it wasn't very hard to pack the hospital bag. It was just bring comfortable stuff that you want. A lot of the stuff I didn't even touch, honestly. Like, I was in the hospital gown 80% of the time, except for the day that I was being released. And even then, when I got home, I really didn't even want to wear the clothes that I had, because it was just, your body goes through a lot. And so you just, I don't know. I didn't need all of it, but what I did do was forget the most important stuff. Like, I forgot, essential stuff like toothpaste. But definitely, if you want to bring a checklist or whatever, I probably would have brought another pillow and a blanket. That would be my recommendation, because my husband was on a very hard sofa type thing, and then them hospital pillows be thin and like kind of cheap. So if you have comforts that you like, I would bring those, but I wouldn't go crazy. Worst part of labor, I have no clue what number I'm on. Worst part of labor for me, or the part that was the most challenging, the contractions before I got the epidural and waiting for the anesthesiologist to get there to give me the epidural. I was very, very nervous about a large needle going into my back. I was nervous about everything, honestly. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I had shakes so bad, because I walked in there like I was cool, but I was freaking out. Like, I was nervous about everything. And the nurse actually asked me, did you have anxiety or, something before coming in here? Because if you did, that could contribute to your shakes being worse. And like, y'all, I was like uncontrollably shaking. Like, I could barely speak correctly because my jaws were like literally shaking so bad. More kids. Do we want more kids? Yes, we do. If you had asked me that as soon as I had the baby, I would have been like, please don't talk to me about any more children. But yes. Depending on what the next pregnancy is like, it may be 1, it may be 2 more. But yes, we are interested in having more children, just not too close together. I am 29. I will be 30 in 2 months. And so I would like to be finished having children by 35. But I don't know. We'll see. And then the last one was to show the baby. So he's asleep. This is Paxton. Cannot believe I'm a whole mom. This is crazy. Okay, let me lift this down some so I can. All right. Uh-oh, he's opening his eyes. This is Paxton. Paxton was born on May 15th at 9:19 p.m. He is currently 7 pounds, 12 and a half ounces was the last time we checked, and that was a week or so ago. 2 weeks ago, I guess now, or maybe just a week. I don't know. Anyways, 7 pounds, 12 and a half ounces. He is 20.75 inches long. So he's a long baby. His little legs are long. He is, a lot of people say he's my twin. I think he looks a lot like both me and his daddy. That is the conclusion of this video. If you have any other questions or any comments, feel free to comment down below. I will respond to them. We're going to also do a nursery tour for his nursery, but we still have some finishing touches that we need to get done. So that's what happens when you have a baby early. You don't finish everything that you wanted to finish. So that's it. This is Paxton. This is Paxton's daddy, my husband, Thomas. And do you have anything you want to say?
Watch the video, like it, share it, all of that good stuff. Send it to someone, text it to somebody, email it, however, send it in Dropbox. And we thank you for your prayers. God bless each and every one of you. And much love from the Garner guys, Paxton and Tom and Pax.
All right, you guys. We will check in again the next video.